Hello and welcome to PubShorts episode 58. Come with us. Hi, my name is Dr. KK and I'm the Innovation Officer at Trinka and Inago, and I have with me Tony. Tony, hi.
Hello, KK. Good to see you again.
Nice background full of books and CDs, is that right?
Books, CDs, video, you name it. I like to have. I like to be surrounded by music. So I've got to ask you a question, KK.
Yeah.
I'm normally quite good at sort of understanding the link between the title of the episodes and the article, but I don't recognise this particular reference. What is it?
Well, I think it might be because this song is a song by
What is the song? First, we'll tell everyone what the
the
song is.
song is Come With Us and it's by Chemical Brothers. I guess you're not too familiar with Chemical Brothers.
Uh,
Yeah, so when I was searching for an article, so the reason why we are calling it "Come With Us" is because we are talking about many initiatives. We will touch on many stories, which cover open access related stories, which brings everybody together and everybody can access the same sort of content. And also, we start off with a story from the Committee of Publication Ethics, which calls for all the authors, the research authors, to come together and come and be transparent and take responsibilities regarding
yeah,
authorship. So I
yeah.
thought it was a pertinent title. It is from their fourth studio album. I was not familiar with the track myself, but when I looked for it, this seemed to be the best I guess semantically linked to whatever content that we are talking about it.
Yeah, did we name an earlier episode that after the Beatles song as well
Yeah.
come together?
Yeah,
Yes,
yes, yes, yes.
that was Come Together Mark Two.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I do not want to recycle or reference because there are
No,
so many
no,
songs. Yeah, and our theme is English, UK, I guess. UK, maybe whatever, the entire United Kingdom. Songs from there, artists from there. That's what we are trying to sort of keep as a
oh,
running theme.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. All right.
Keep it
So Tony, please introduce yourself and explain what Pop Shots is.
So PubShorts is a regular episodic podcast that KK and I record where we discuss different topics relating to research. There could be technology, could be funding, in short bites over 15, 20 minutes.
Right, and this is obviously the 58th episode. We are streaming live on YouTube as well as we'll post snippets on all sorts of social media. So if you're interested, please look for the Inago channel and there's a dedicated Pop Shots playlist there. And please listen to the previous episodes if you are so inclined and let us know what you think about it, because we look forward to receiving comments and suggestions from you, and whatever we have heard so far, we have tried to put that into the content that we create. So with that, Tony, are you ready for the first news
Let's
story?
do it.
All right. So we are, as I mentioned, it is a committee of publication ethics guideline. So it's titled "Introducing the New COPE Guideline: Author Fees and Waivers." So it is a new guideline for author fees and waivers. It covers transparency, justification, and waiver policies, and it is aimed at librarians, funders, publishers, and journals. And it focuses on fairness, accessibility, and the conflict of interest avoidance. Now, what I'll do, Tony, is before I ask you for your thoughts, these are some of the key points from the actual document itself, and I have it open. So we are talking about potential conflicts of interest between journals, financial goals, and editorial integrity. Then prioritizing fee paying authors or applying waivers and discounts unfairly. This is from an editorial point of view. Then we are talking about transparency, then separating editorial decisions from fee processing, as well as minimizing the impact of fee waivers on author choices and submission bias. So lots of interesting things. And I thought, because you have I guess you've been around the block in this industry,
I know.
and I want to ask you. So this we've already talked about it. This guideline is aimed at librarians, funders, publishers, and journals. But from a journal editorial point of view, why are such guidelines important?
Um, Gosh, that's quite an interesting question. Why are waivers important generally? I mean, the open access, open access comes at a cost. Unless a journal is free to publish, there's a fee that has to be paid either by the publisher or by the author or the author's institution.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in well-funded economies, authors can generally find their APCs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a scientist and researcher working in a developing or a transitional economy, those sorts of funds aren't available.
Mm-hmm.
And there's perfectly good research coming from those markets as well. So I think what it does is it kind of gives a level of fairness in the sort of publishing profile, in that good research, regardless of where it comes from, can be made available open free of charge,
Right.
because the open access fee for
Hmm.
that developing economy researcher or that transitional economy researcher can be waived
Right.
and set to one side.
So, would this summarize the answer? Editors, authors should be aware of financial incentives that potentially undermine editorial objectivity. We want editors to be objective. We want peer review to be objective and evidence based, and hence such guidelines are important. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
For me, the most important thing is that good science is being communicated, good research is being communicated, regardless of where the paper comes from. And if you've got an author that wants to submit, an author from let's say a sub-Saharan African country who's
Mm-hmm.
got a paper that's good enough to be published in Journal X and hasn't got the fee, hasn't got the funding to pay the APC,
Mm-hmm.
then the world is missing out. The world of research is missing out. So having those sorts of waivers are important, and it's important that the editors understand where how those waivers can be implemented.
Right.
I think sometimes there's a lack of knowledge in terms of what isn't applicable. I mean, you hear of cases, for example, of early career researchers from rich, well-funded institutions getting waivers
Mm-hmm.
because they're early career researchers. Well, that's a policy that if an institution, if a publisher wants to take, it's up to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an unfair policy because ultimately those institutions have got the funding to support their researchers, or they should have.
Right. Regardless, it's a COPE guideline and it's an excellent resource for anybody who's in this space. So, we recommend
Yeah.
that you visit it. So, once again,
COPE is a superb guideline. If you're
yeah.
interested at all in the ethics of research, or ethics of publishing, I mean, it should be the first place anyone goes to.
Right. And
a lot of the work that we do, we're COPE members at Inargo, and a lot of the work that we do will stick very closely to these guidelines.
And for the audience, we always provide the sources of the stories that we share with you on the screen. The URLs to which will be provided in the YouTube description. So please refer to it and read it and let us know what you think about it. So, Tony, I'm moving on to the next story. We are actually globe hopping. So, we are moving to Canada. So, this is a story from the Canadian Research Knowledge Network. So, it has signed a read and publish agreement with the Royal Society of Chemistry.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, the authors at CRKN institutions can publish open access without any cost, which is, I guess, it is a transformative agreement. The agreement covers both hybrid and gold RSC journals. And over 500 articles per year will be published in open access. So that's an interesting story. Do you what are your thoughts on it?
I suppose that's one of the things I was surprised was how few articles were open access.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 500 articles from the CRKN, for
yes.
example.
Yes.
Yes. So that in itself is very important. I mean, organisations like RSC and other publishers will have had licensing deals with CRKN for many, many years. Mm-hmm. So this is moving from a read-only agreement to a read and publish agreement. It's a natural transition, and it allows for a move towards subscribe to open.
Right. And just as you mentioned, so this story, I picked it up from Journalology, the newsletter. We recommend that to everybody in the field of publishing. And this is from Journalology 112. It's called Royal Family, I think it's the title. And this, it's published, obviously, and curated and published by James Butcher. And this is a graph that I'd like to sort of show from that newsletter itself. So this, it breaks down pretty much the RSC group of journals. And you can see that the blue line corresponds to the closed journal, the traditional licensing agreement journal, and all of open access is catching up to approximately just above 15,000. So we have about 22,000 closed access journals right now, and RSC in 2022, Tony, had its plans to make all of its journals available as open access in 5 years. So I think it'll take, as James Butcher says, it will not probably make its target. So but still, it's 500 more journals being open access is good news.
And 500 more articles.
Yeah.
Well, not journals are being open access. Yeah. And RSC is one of a number of leading publishers, very important publishers, who are driving this program through. And I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see a complete sea change in the way content is being funded and accessed.
Right. Okay. Thanks for correcting me, Tony. And we have a story from Directory of Open Access. So DOAJ announces its move to DOAJ Foundation, which is similar to our another story that we covered previously. So DOAJ is a Danish non-profit foundation. The move aims to improve community governance and streamline operations. The
For those
operation,
who don't know what DOAJ means,
yeah,
DOAJ is the Directory of Open Access Journals, and it's been
I
available
should have
for
said.
about
Thanks
20
for that.
years now.
Right. See, the operations are expected to continue smoothly, and the transition is expected to strengthen DOAJ's future. Now, DOAJ has a very important role in the space of open access, right, Tony? Especially in terms of obviously cataloging open access journals, as well as providing information regarding those, as well as giving information as to what journals are predatory and what journals are not. So this is, I would in the context of infrastructure, we've been talking about it, collaborating between different stakeholders in the publishing industry. DOAJ plays a central role, and this move should be great in terms of maintaining the infrastructure, right?
Um, I think what this does by creating a foundation, it gives it a bit more sort of financial security and stability moving forward.
Yes.
And in the acceptance that it's such an important area, such an
Mm.
important topic, that it requires its own infrastructure in this way.
Right, and many organizations, including people like us, some of our products depend on the information that we get from the
Yeah,
databases that DOAJ keeps, right,
yeah,
Tony?
that's right. So we on the Inago website, for example, if you use our journal finder, um, certainly historically, I think we still do. I'm not 100% certain, but we've
Mm.
certainly in the past referred authors back to the DOAJ using one of our filters
Mm-hmm.
to be able to select open access journals only. Because look, there are so many journals out there. I can't remember how the latest number is 40,000 journals. How on earth does an author select the right one? And if their institution is forcing them or committing them to publishing in open access journals only,
Right.
then you need to have a way of easily filtering that. And DOAJ is a wonderful source to do that.
And if suppose you're interested in knowing more about this feature, please make an account in Trinka AI, and you'll find once you log in and the web interface will show you on the
Absolutely.
left hand side. There's a menu where you can find Journal Finder. All you need to do is to upload or copy paste the abstract from your manuscript, and using semantic analysis, we will look at the content of your the pasted abstract, as well as the content that is generally published
Yeah.
in these journals, and will show you the top 5 journals that you can consider submitting this to,
And if
right?
you don't like what Drink is suggesting, then you can still use our human
Yeah.
advisory service to guide you.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. And I'm moving on to the next story. It is from Kaga. Kaga Publishers expands open access portfolio for 2025 with subscribe to open. So this model, I think, Tony, you can explain further. Lets journals become open access if subscription targets are met, and 3 journals will be open access without article processing charges in
Yeah.
2025, as per the story.
Yeah.
And I mean, the subscribe to open model relies on library subscriptions instead of charging authors, and I think that is a way forward. It is we've talked about, I think, two episodes ago as well, Tony. So any thoughts on this?
And no, I think the subscribe to open model is an important one, because what journals are doing is committing to using the income that it's generated so far to
Mm-hmm.
make content available. So the model is where journals are transitioning to open access by leveraging existing library subscription and procurement processes to ensure that current subscribers continue to support the journal, and in return,
Mm-hmm.
the journal content becomes more freely available. So I think from that perspective, it's a very important pathway towards through open access.
Right, and moving on to the next story, F1000 extends pioneering open research Africa publishing platform to all authors in Africa. This is the globe hopping that we are in the continent of Africa. You mentioned sub-Saharan Africa, so this is good news for every African researcher. So previously, Tony, only researchers with partner funding could publish on ORA, Open Research Africa, and it aims to share African research globally. ORA's mission, and it is launched by F1000 and Science for Africa Foundation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we've heard so many stories related to open access, but few from the continent of Africa, and this is great news for.
It is. I think it's another step towards trying to bring in a bit more equity and balance and fairness in scientific communication, and having this available to all authors in Africa. I think it's a great step, and I applaud F1000 for making that
Yeah,
decision.
Yeah, so this apparently is a policy change to allow broader participation, addressing high rejection rates due to previous restrictions. The one good point here is that discount and waiver schemes. You talked about this waivers. The schemes available right now with this for authors, they are available without partner funding. Usually, what happens is that if you get funding from a partner funder, then you get waivers. Now this probably overrule in the sense, if even if you do not have such a funder, you can still get waivers. Good news again for
Yeah, absolutely good
yeah.
news again. Yeah, and certainly would can only help researchers looking to share their research globally.
Right. So, Tony, our institution is known for gender equity, equality, I would say, in terms of leadership, etc. But there's a big gender gap in research publishing, but it's improving slowly. That's what this Nature Index article tells us.
Yeah,
So, only 27% of high quality papers in natural sciences had female co-authors in 2024. Health
yeah.
sciences have a better representation with 41% of female co-authorship. Fields like reproductive medicine, pediatrics have higher female co-authorship, which sort of explains, even in my medical school, one would sort of, if you are a female medical student, one would generally gravitate towards obstetrics and gynecology and pediatrics. So maybe that has something to do with it. And the Harvard University shows a relatively high female co-authorship rate at 38%. The US, Canada, and France are among the top countries with over 30% female co-authorship. So lots
Yeah.
of interesting stories. I'm still sort of baffled by the fact that there are not many as in female or women co-authors or authors in publishing in general. Your thoughts on
Well,
this trend as well as across the subject areas?
this is a personal opinion, but I think it can probably be supported by some evidence, but I haven't got the evidence to hand. There has historically been bias
Mm-hmm.
around, in but how can I put this in a politically correct way? Um, what there has been instances where journals have been able to prove that white males are published have more papers accepted than, let's say, non-white females or white or females, and so there is bias somewhere within the in the
Mm-hmm.
peer review process. And what we've been trying to do is to introduce tools which will allow publishers to move towards anonymized peer review.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to try and minimize bias in selection, if for any reason a reviewer has bias, and wrongly so,
Mm-hmm.
then this tool will identify if there's any information within the article that can identify who the author is,
Right.
and therefore, by taking that out, just allow the article to be decided on its own right. As for, I don't know what the proportion of female versus male scientists are.
Mm-hmm.
In any given lab, if there are 100 researchers, what proportion of those are male? What proportion is a female? Does it reflect the nature of the lab, for example?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a complicated question, but it is clear that female authors are less represented than male authors.
Right. So, Tony, we have a startling discrepancy in natural sciences. Males have like 75%, approximately, let's say 73%, and the female co-authorship ones are 27, the corresponding percentage. Whereas the difference is much, or rather, the percentages are much closer in the health sciences. So, can you explain why natural sciences, at least research co-authors, are infrequently female?
I really can't, well, and I know again, there's been if I talk about the areas where I've worked in, let's say physics,
Mm-hmm.
the Institute of Physics for many years strived to encourage more women to study physics at a graduate level.
Right.
In fact, we made the news some years ago where and it shouldn't have been news, but it was news,
Mm-hmm.
where our chief executive, a female, was appointed to be chief executive.
Mm-hmm.
That was considered to be a big deal at the time, but it shouldn't be. The best person for the job should be considered. I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
less females go into engineering or into physics or into sort of chemistry, for example. But it certainly seems to be the fact. But all the societies representing those subject areas strive very hard to encourage girls to study these sciences at graduate level.
Yeah.
And I think they've made some headway, but there's still a long way to go.
Do you have your crystal ball right next to you?
I have a cup. I've got a crystal cup.
Look into it. By 2050, what would these percentages be? Would it be closer to 50, you think?
I hope so. I
Okay.
suspect not, but I hope so. I
All
mean,
right.
look at the way that curve has gone in 10 years.
All
I
right.
mean, probably closer to 40.
Okay. All right. Quick hits time, and the first one is related to Charlesworth. So
Yeah,
Charlesworth has partnered with JOMI, which expands to the Journal of Medical Insight, to expand access to surgical education in China, which is excellent. So JOMI offers video-based surgical content, and it is now more accessible in China. And the Charlesworth's marketing expertise aids JOMI's reach to Chinese medical
yeah,
professionals. So we've been talking about the services. This is a good example of how Charlesworth's consultancy services help publishers, especially focusing in and around China. So Tony, I'll let you explain this further. So how can you explain? Can you set the context, Charlesworth, its legacy, and what it does in China, and how publishers can avail some of its excellent services?
yeah. Well, this Jomi announcement is one of many, many, many such arrangements that are in place. So Charlesworth, a company that we acquired back in 2022, has a particular expertise in China.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the first Western publishing services companies
Mm.
to open an office in China in 1999. In fact, they recently celebrated their 25th anniversary,
Right.
and they have a particular expertise in the Chinese publishing sector. So they understand the market, they understand the dynamics of the market, they understand who the key players are in that market, um, and work with publishers in a variety of ways, either through rights and distribution arrangements,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, so selling their content for them in China, or marketing their services in China, or providing expert services to organizations who are looking to break into the Chinese market, or to change their profile
Mm-hmm.
in the Chinese market. So I can't think of another company that has a similar profile and level set of expertise and set of skills
Mm-hmm.
that can support anyone looking to do business in China, in certainly academic publishing.
And if publishers want to know more about Charlesworth services, how can they find more about it,
Oh,
Johnny?
just easiest thing to do is go to the Charlesworth website, charlesworth-group.com,
Mm.
and click on the China Expert Services link, and that'll take you directly to my colleagues in the China Expert Services team.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. So that brings us to the last quick hit. Interesting news for people who use Microsoft or Microsoft 365. Microsoft Boost Copilot Studio with deep reasoning unveils Microsoft 365 reasoning agents. And, as soon as I read this, Tony, I thought I should forward this to you. So it's obviously Microsoft is doing a lot with the Copilot function. So new
Yeah,
reasoning agents, researcher and analyst, are coming to Microsoft 365 Copilot. So the researcher agent handles multi-step research using the open AI model, and the analyst acts like a data scientist employing advanced data analysis. So anybody who is doing a lot of work on their, let's say, Office Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and if you want to have complex analysis of the content in your emails, attachments, as well as the content in your emails, and respond, for example, for a RFP, could use this and could easily create and optimize their process. And as soon as I read this story, I thought about you. Maybe you should start using this.
well, listen, actually, I'm probably not the most advanced technical person in the world, but I have tried to use this. But it was an unfortunate realization that neither my work computer nor my desktop computer, which my personal computer, is actually powerful enough to run this. I need Windows 11 to run this, and I haven't got Windows 11. I haven't got the processing capacity. So maybe you should ask me again in 6 months' time when
Yeah.
I've got a new computer, and I should be able to answer you more
Well,
easily.
I'm going to play this at 2x speed so you can see what's going on. So I hope the resolution picks up. So it obviously, this is the Microsoft 365. You're looking at an email, and you can enable in your settings, and eventually you can edit the details given to the agent, including the instructions, as you can see, and add more instructions, and then it will find things from your emails and the attachments, and it will help you create your RFP. And you can, I think, collaborate with other users in the system as well, and you can even set timers, so it'll let you know when it is finished its work. Sounds like something, Tony, that you should totally have.
Yes. No comment. I should have it. I don't. And let's get a better computer first.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to switch to non-full screen, and that brings us to the end of the episode 58, come with us, Tony. That is an interesting episode, at least something that can directly help your research. And we talked about AI and open access, but we have been talking about open access transformative agreements for the last 57 episodes as well. So where can they find more about it?
Uh, well, they can find more about the PubShorts if they go to the Inago channel and find the Inago PubShorts playlist. You can follow the channel and you'll get all the updates, any new videos that come up, the 57 that we've loaded so far. And press like and share if there's any, and also send us any ideas for future topics. And we thank all of you that have sent ideas through so far.
Right, and if they want to know more about what you've been doing in the publishing industry, especially the stuff, the deals that you've acquired, you've gotten us. So where can they find more about Tony's work?
Well, good question. I'm obviously on LinkedIn, so you can follow me and KK there,
Yeah.
or you can contact me directly at tonyo@inago.com.
All right. So Tony, I'll bring this episode to a close. So on behalf of Tony, I'm signing off. Also on behalf of the team that helps us support. So we'll see you in the next episode. And until then, bye, Tony. We will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Next one.